I enjoy this story. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to continue chronicling it, but we will also continue chronicling the movies of the week. So let's get to that. What the hell?
Over his head.
Hold on. We had some kind of malfunction.
It's playing for me.
Let me go back, give this its proper play. There we go.
In a world of movie references flying over his head, one man will finally watch them. This is the Matt and Blonde Show movie review.
This week's movie is the 1987 classic action film Predator, in which Arnold Schwarzenegger leads an elite military unit on a hostage rescue mission gone wrong. The team is hunted by a mysterious alien, but a resourceful Arnold learns that he can just wear blackface to hide, and a combination of primitive weapons finishes the enemy in a way that somehow thousands of rounds of ammunition could not.
I know, right?
From movie picker Charles this week, one of the top Schwarzenegger films. In my opinion, this was a huge release when it came out. It spawned a whole series of Predator films, but the first one is the best one. It also spawned some solid memes. So, as always, your thoughts and your rating.
Yeah. So I've seen this movie like a dozen times. You've got to take it at face value. You got to get in there and you got to just take it at face value. It's like a slasher film, but it's also an action film. And they weren't too worried about keeping it in any box, which I liked. And the thing that I most loved about this movie is how unabashedly masculine it was. Just hearing somebody say in a film faggot conversationally, it like made my heart grow 3 sizes. I was like, that is just so great. Just being able to hear these masculine, Jesse Ventura is so hot. So yeah, it's just refreshing to watch after this, growing up in this PC culture. And then the action and the violence, it's so excessive, so gratuitous. There's so many one-liners and puns. It's just awesome. It's a nonstop thrill ride. It's an old favorite of mine. So I gave it 4 out of 5 because I feel like 5 out of 5 needs to be reserved for these world-class cinematic masterpieces. Which this is a great movie. I love watching it, enjoy it every time. But it's not that. But for what it is, love it. 4 out of 5.
We are right on the same page lately. We need to have a more controversial movie where we strongly disagree, because we've been united in our appreciations and our hatreds lately. So we're due.
So you like it?
Yeah, I do like it. And specifically for a few, but I think I will always appreciate whether I like the movie or not when it is about as pure to the spirit of the segment as could possibly be, which is cultural references, memes that were born out of it. Now, I knew that the epic handshake came from Predator, but I'd never watched it.
Right.
I've never seen the movie until this. I'd never seen it in its full context. And it's one of my favorite memes, just about, two unlikely allies finding some sort of alliance in a common principle. In this case, it's Dutch and Dylan on the mission at hand to rescue these hostages. Lends itself to creating a meme for the very segment, which is you and the audience arm in arm, hating on my movie taste together. That's what you guys do. So I have to appreciate that just to see the origin of a significant cultural reference is good. And of course, honorable mention to Get to the Choppa, which I also knew was from this movie, but haven't ever sat down to watch. So it's good to see. I'm glad you like Jesse Ventura, because he was, in my opinion, the best character in the movie. And that's not a shot at Arnold or Carl Weathers or any of the other actors. But Blaine was just the best character with the coolest gun and the best lines. Now, you mentioned the best line in the movie. You guys are a bunch of slack-jawed faggots.
Bunch of slack-jawed faggots around here.
This stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus just like me. But he's the best character of the show. My only complaint with Blaine is he got a death too early and too insignificant. His death was just unimpressive. He just was kind of walking around and he got shot by the Predator gun thing, whatever he has, and he's just gone. Yeah. Like, damn, dude, I love that guy. That was a shame. Now, the effects of the movie, at first, I thought the effects were kind of crappy because the thermal vision thing looked sort of cheap. And then the initial shots of the Predator suit, I thought, oh, it just kind of looks like maybe a somewhat high-level Halloween costume with like lizard gloves.
Yeah.
But once the Predator removed his mask, I thought, okay, that deserves some credit, because to achieve those nasty-looking, moving mandibles, that was cool. So it gets a lot of credit there, and that got me digging into the how the suit was built, and how that was done was actually pretty cool. Do you know it was Jean-Claude Van Damme who was the first Predator, and they built this weird kind of dinosaur insect looking Predator, but it had 3 joints in the legs, and so they couldn't move. Like a man couldn't move naturally in it. He needed harnesses and cables to support him.
Wow.
And they just couldn't do it in the jungle in Mexico. It was just too complicated to film.
Huh.
So Arnold called up his guy from Terminator, Stan Winston, and why he would call him, I don't know, because Terminator's effects, as we talked about at the time, are horrendous. But he called his friend Stan Winston, who had to build this new Terminator in just a few months' time, or this new Predator, rather, not Terminator, in just a few months' time. And he did it. And it's not only, it's impressive for no matter how much time he took to do it, but he did it on a shortened schedule. The other effect I thought was cool was the chatter mentioned earlier, the invisibility effect.
Yeah.
Where you can kind of see the Predator just a little bit, kind of like video game cloaking. They did that by having the Predator wear a big red suit. And then since that was the only color not really naturally in the jungle between the blue of the sky and the green of all the foliage. So he ran around in a red suit, and they would chroma key the Predator out like a reverse green screen, and then shoot the same shot with a wider angle lens and fill in that empty space with more jungle imagery. And so then what you would get is like a Predator outline that's just barely visible.
That's so smart.
With a little bit of distortion in the leaves and stuff. And it ended up being pretty cool. I thought it's pretty cool effect to achieve with fewer digital tools. So that was impressive. Now, I love 80s cheese. I'm not really complaining about it. The things I didn't like, though, some of the cheese and the cheesy lines get really, really stinky. And I'm thinking specifically of the character, who is the guy? It's Hawkins, who's making like large vagina jokes repeatedly.
The big pussy joke?
Yeah, I get it. I get it. They don't really serve a purpose in the plot, and they just kind of
a nerd, though.
They just kind of awkwardly interrupt. So that, I don't know. I didn't hate it, but it was kind of like, okay, yeah, I get it. Hilarious. Giant vagina. Haha. And then to me, the thermal camouflage. Arnold's character Dutch realizes, if I'm covered in mud, he can't see me because he has this thermal vision. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. Like I don't have a great understanding of thermal cameras and thermal vision, but I thought the point was that you could see through light obstructions. Like you might be able to see through a thin layer of mud, or you can see through smoke or dust or other things that I was reading about. And if the Predator can't see through a thin layer of mud because of it blocks his thermal vision, well, why wouldn't clothes and face paint accomplish basically the same thing?
The same thing, yeah.
And even if Arnold was perfectly covered in mud, why aren't there heat signatures off of his eyes or off of other things that aren't perfectly covered? The idea that it was this perfect disguise didn't really make a lot of sense to me. But
he probably would have figured that out too about the mud.
To your point, am I going to sit here and really critically analyze the finer science of the plot here? Or am I just going to say, this is kind of a shallow movie meant to be enjoyed with a deep bucket of popcorn to compromise? And it does that well. I mean, it's action entertainment. It's funny. It's memorable. And so I gave it exactly what you did, which is a 4 wiki rating.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
I think the only thing holding it back for me, similar to you, was this is not a movie I'm going to sit around and think about later. I am not going to get lost in Predator thought or any depth about it.
Maybe you will. You don't know that yet. Didn't you just watch it a few days ago?
We watched it on Wednesday, so I've had a few days to consider the depths of Predator, and it has not really stuck in my mind. As far as the audience rating, people like it. Strong showing in the early vote for 4 and 5, and almost no hate. There is a total, out of 125 early votes, 5 people gave it a 1 or a 2. So very, very little hate for this movie. Next week is The Fifth Element, which I know nothing about. Some sort
I
of
have never seen. Yeah.
late 90s Bruce Willis sci-fi movie. That's all I know. So we will check out The Fifth Element for next week. And then after that, the movie list refreshes for March. So movies submitted by listener Matt P. for your consideration. I think this is a good one. We have Clerks, Black Hawk Down, War Games, Pulp Fiction, The Bourne Identity, The Transporter, Desperado, Top Gun, or of course you can reject the entire list and vote wildcard for a random top-rated movie instead. There's some movies on there that I have seen and really enjoy, but I don't want to tip the vote. So just if any of those movies suit your fancy, hop into the weekly movie review column and cast your vote. And of course, that's a good time for a reminder that if you'd like to read my movie reviews, comment on how wrong I am, submit your own rating, vote for the next movie, or sign up for the opportunity to be the movie nominator for the month, the one and only place to do it is in my weekly movie review column, linked in the description and on the homepage of the website. That's mattchristiansenmedia.com. And that'll do it.